King Jehoshaphat was the fourth king of Judah, reigning during the 9th century BC. His story is primarily found in the books of 1 Kings, chapters 22, and 2 Chronicles, chapters 17 to 20, in the Bible. Jehoshaphat was the son of King Asa and succeeded his father to the throne. Before we start, we'd like to ask for your support. If you enjoy our video, please hit the like button. This will help us reach more people and create content for you. Now let's get started with today's video. King Jehoshaphat was the son of King Asa and the fourth king of the southern kingdom of Judah. His reign is estimated to have lasted from around 873 to 848 BC. During a period when the Israelite monarchy was divided into the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. Jehoshaphat is primarily remembered as a godly ruler who sought to lead his people in the ways of the Lord, continuing the religious reforms started by his father Asa. The biblical narrative about Jehoshaphat is mainly found in the books of 1 Kings chapter 22 and 2 Chronicles chapters 17 to 20. The chronicler, who authored 1 and 2 Chronicles, particularly highlights Jehoshaphat's religious devotion and his efforts to bring the people of Judah back to the worship of Yahweh. Jehoshaphat's early reign. Establishing godly reforms. Jehoshaphat began his reign by solidifying his position as king and strengthening the defenses of Judah. Recognizing the importance of spiritual leadership, he prioritized the religious life of his kingdom, continuing the work of his father, Asa, who had also been committed to purging Judah of idolatry. Jehoshaphat's first major acts as king were centered around removing the high places and Asherah poles, sites dedicated to pagan gods, and emphasizing the worship of the God of Israel. Religious reforms and education. One of Jehoshaphat's most significant contributions was his emphasis on religious education. In the third year of his reign, he sent out officials, Levites, and priests throughout Judah to teach the people the law of the Lord. 2 Chronicles chapter 17 verses 7 to 9. This was an unprecedented move that demonstrated his commitment to grounding his people in the knowledge of God's commandments. By instructing the people in the ways of the Lord, Jehoshaphat aimed to ensure that Judah would be a kingdom guided by divine wisdom rather than human politics or the practices of surrounding nations. This initiative not only solidified his authority but also led to a period of peace and prosperity. The surrounding nations, seeing that Judah was under divine protection and favor, were reluctant to wage war against them. Some even brought tribute to Jehoshaphat, acknowledging his strength and God's blessing on his reign. 2 Chronicles chapter 17 verses 10 to 11. Military strength and fortifications. While Jehoshaphat's reign is often remembered for its spiritual aspects, he was also a shrewd and capable military leader. Understanding the importance of security, he fortified cities and built up a strong, well-organized army. The chronicler gives detailed accounts of the military units under Jehoshaphat's command, highlighting the large numbers of troops and the commanders who led them. 2 Chronicles chapter 17 verses 12 to 19. This military strength acted as a deterrent to potential aggressors and contributed to the stability of Judah during his reign. The alliance with Ahab. A risky political move. Despite his deep faith and commitment to God, Jehoshaphat made a significant political mistake by forming an alliance with King Ahab of Israel. Ahab was one of the most wicked kings of Israel, notorious for promoting the worship of Baal and allowing his wife, Jezebel, to persecute the prophets of Yahweh. The marriage alliance. Jehoshaphat's alliance with Ahab was solidified through the marriage of his son, Jehoram, to Ahab's daughter, Athaliah. 2 Chronicles chapter 18 verse 1. This alliance was likely seen as a means to strengthen political and military ties between the two kingdoms. However, it exposed Judah to the corrupting influences of Ahab's idolatrous practices. The Battle of Ramoth-Gilead. The consequences of this alliance became evident when Ahab persuaded Jehoshaphat to join him in a military campaign against Ramoth-Gilead, a city that was strategically important and had been contested by Israel and Aram, modern-day Syria. Before agreeing to go into battle, Jehoshaphat insisted on seeking the counsel of the Lord. Ahab, however, preferred to consult his own prophets, who assured him of victory. 1 Kings chapter 22 verse 6. Unsatisfied with their unanimous but suspect approval, Jehoshaphat asked if there was a prophet of Yahweh they could consult, leading Ahab to reluctantly call for Micaiah, a prophet known for speaking truth even when it was unfavorable. Micaiah initially mocked the other prophets but then revealed a vision in which God allowed a lying spirit to deceive Ahab's prophets, leading them to predict success. He warned that the battle would end in disaster for Ahab. Despite this dire prophecy, Ahab and Jehoshaphat proceeded with the campaign. During the battle, Ahab disguised himself to avoid being targeted, while Jehoshaphat wore his royal robes, making him an obvious target. The enemy forces mistook Jehoshaphat for Ahab and nearly killed him. But he cried out, and they realized their mistake. 1 Kings chapter 22 verses 32 to 33. Meanwhile, Ahab was fatally wounded by a random arrow and died later that day. This episode was a clear warning to Jehoshaphat about the dangers of aligning with ungodly rulers. Although he survived, it was by divine intervention rather than military strategy. Jehoshaphat's return to God. Renewed reforms after the disastrous alliance with Ahab, Jehoshaphat returned to Jerusalem, chastened by the experience. He recognized the need to realign himself and his kingdom with God's will, and so he doubled down on his religious reforms. Judicial reforms. Jehoshaphat implemented a system of judicial reforms to ensure justice and righteousness in the land. He appointed judges in the fortified cities of Judah and instructed them to judge with integrity, reminding them that they were judging not for man but for the Lord. 2 Chronicles chapter 19 verses 5 to 7. This was a significant move to ensure that corruption and partiality did not undermine the justice system. Additionally, he established a high court in Jerusalem, presided over by the chief priest and other officials, to handle more difficult cases. This structure ensured that the people of Judah had access to fair and righteous judgment, further reinforcing the spiritual health of the nation. The threat of invasion. Jehoshaphat's greatest test. Jehoshaphat's faith and leadership were put to the test when a vast coalition of enemies, comprising the Moabites, Ammonites, and some of the Meunites, came to wage war against Judah. This event is recorded in 2 Chronicles chapter 20 and is one of the most remarkable examples of divine intervention in the Bible. Jehoshaphat's response, prayer and fasting. When Jehoshaphat received news of the impending invasion, he was understandably alarmed. However, instead of panicking, he turned to God. He proclaimed a fast throughout Judah and gathered the people at the temple in Jerusalem to seek the Lord's help. His prayer, recorded in 2 Chronicles chapter 20 verses 5 to 12, is a model of humility and faith. Jehoshaphat acknowledged God's sovereignty, recalled his past acts of deliverance, and confessed the people's helplessness against such a vast army, saying, "We do not know what to do. But our eyes are on you." 2 Chronicles chapter 20 verse 12. Divine assurance and victory. In response to Jehoshaphat's prayer, the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jehaziel, a Levite, who delivered a prophetic message of hope. He told the king and the people not to be afraid or discouraged because the battle was not theirs but God's. Jehaziel assured them that they would not need to fight. Instead, they were to stand firm and see the salvation of the Lord. 2 Chronicles chapter 20 verses 15 to 17. Encouraged by this message, Jehoshaphat led his people in worship. The next day, he appointed singers to go before the army, praising the Lord as they advanced toward the battlefield. As they sang and praised, the Lord set ambushes against the enemy forces, causing them to turn on each other. By the time the men of Judah reached the battlefield, they found that their enemies had already been defeated. The victory was so complete that it took the people of Judah 3 days to collect the plunder. 2 Chronicles chapter 20 verses 24 to 26. This miraculous victory is one of the most powerful examples in the Bible of God fighting on behalf of his people when they trust in him completely. It also solidified Jehoshaphat's reputation as a godly king whose faith in God brought deliverance and peace to his kingdom. Later years and mistakes. Lessons in leadership despite his many successes. Jehoshaphat's later years were marred by another ill-advised alliance with the northern kingdom of Israel. After the death of Ahab, Jehoshaphat allied himself with Ahab's son, Ahaziah, in a joint venture to build a fleet of trading ships. This alliance, like the one before it, was displeasing to God, and the ships were wrecked before they could set sail. 2 Chronicles chapter 20 verses 35 to 37. The alliance with Ahaziah demonstrated that Jehoshaphat, despite his faithfulness, was not immune to making poor political decisions, particularly when they involved aligning with ungodly leaders. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. I hope you like this video. Thank you.